Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the One Talk podcast. You're here with your host, Ryan McCarthy. And today we are joined by Deija Waller. Deija is a branding specialist, graphic designer, and personal brand coach, blending psychology, energetics, aesthetics, intuition, and strategy to bring your dream brand to life. And within today's episode, we touched on a lot around Deija's mission. We asked loads of questions around branding and how to elevate and grow your brand and really get the most out of it. And we touched on so much just around her journey, her mission, her why, her purpose, and so much more. So I'm really eager for everyone to jump in today's episode and take away as much as they can. In other news, if you could please leave this podcast a rating, it means so much in terms of helping this podcast grow, reaching a larger audience, and getting this message out there. So if you could leave the podcast a rating, that would mean heaps. But without further ado, let's welcome Deija.
Thank y'all. The marathon continue. Victory lap tonight, though. Victory lap tonight.
Welcome to the One Talk podcast with Ryan McCarthy.
The marathon continues. That's what you would say.
Welcome, Deija. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be on the podcast. I've been listening to quite a few of your episodes and I've been loving the vibe, and I've just, even to how we connected as well, it just seems very divinely orchestrated in a way.
Yeah, legit.
To have this meeting and connection and record this podcast.
Yeah, I'm keen to dive into them. For the people listening that don't know the story, like you grew up in a place called Hella Cove in Adelaide. I lived in Hella Cove when I moved from England. I lived there for 4 years. We kind of grew up close to each other in Hella Cove as well, which is crazy, around the same time. Then somehow now we're both in Brisbane recording the podcast all these years later. Yeah,
literally. It's like wild to me to think that we could have crossed paths in like the Hella Cove shopping centre, unknowingly, and now cross paths again and actually get to meet. So really cool. I'm really excited to dive into this episode and just really see where it takes us, and hopefully your listeners get a lot of value from it as well. Yeah,
100%. And I'm not sure, just before we get into it, in Adelaide and Hella Cove, did you ever used to go to charcoal chicken?
Oh, yes.
Charcoal chicken. That was my favourite. So charcoal chicken, best chips.
Literally, the charcoal chicken in Hallett Cove, literally every Friday night, that was our ritual as a family. Get chicken and chips, rent some movies, and that was the vibe on Fridays.
That was the go-to.
So it's funny too, we're doing this on a Friday night as well.
I had to drop that because I was like, one of my core memories from Hallett Cove is charcoal chicken.
Yep, same core childhood memory.
Well, there we go. We're going to be talking about branding today. There we go. There's a branding of charcoal chicken.
Yep.
Giving them a shout on the podcast.
Yeah. They're still up and running, I believe, as well. Went back to Adelaide. They're still up and running, still going, still kicking.
Legends. But like the reason why I was keen for today's episode, because I was telling you before the podcast that I've had heaps of business owners and people that own companies and brands within this podcast, but I've never had actually someone who likes to do the work of making brands, not making brands, but you know what I mean, like getting brands and taking them to the next level, and the importance of branding and whatnot. And then when you messaged me, I was like, it's just one of those moments where it clicked, and I was like, why haven't I thought about interviewing someone that is, a bit of an expert on branding? And then when you messaged me, I was like, this is meant to be.
Yeah, 100%. Because brand is something that I've dived into over the past few years, and it's been a topic that I've just literally become obsessed with, especially when it kind of started actually when I started in business for the first time in a network marketing company, like in 2018. I never saw myself as a businesswoman. I thought I would be in childcare forever and or working as a teacher. And no one that I knew, no one in my family. I didn't have any models of anyone who had a business. My dad tried to start up a business, like literally called it Movac, where he'd go to people's houses and do their gardening, be Mr. Fix-It. And he started that up, but didn't really take it anywhere. So I didn't really have anyone around me to think of like, could start a business. So this is when like the network marketing profession had presented itself to me, and that's actually where I grew a lot of my own confidence, my skill set, personal development, social media, all of that. And what I came to realize over that time of trying to work out how I could build this network marketing thing. And because it's like you're selling a product that everyone else is selling, this, we have large communities. So what actually makes me different from somebody else in the company? Why would someone choose to buy that product from me out of everyone else, hundreds of thousands of other people? Yeah. So this is when I became interested and obsessed with brand and what actually makes a brand, and why some brands actually stand the test of time and some brands are like literally irresistible, that people talk about them all the time. For example, whether you love them or hate them, the Kardashians are a big one that stand out in the sense that how incredible, if you're just looking from a business point of view,
they've bossed it.
Literally, and like even Kris Jenner, in the sense that all of her children have all individual, multiple businesses with multiple different brands. Yeah. And the fact that how they've been able to grow that, innovate, change, and literally change their style and move with the waves of their brands. And
decades as well.
Decades, like wild. So I've become obsessed with branding, and then I've been running my business, The Divine Design, for a few years now. I think it's actually coming up. Yeah, it would be 2 years, my 2-year anniversary running it. And I started it based on, I was still holding it to my childcare job like this, being like, this is my identity. This is who I am, though. Like, I thought this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I soon enough got pushed out of that. Universe, whoever pushed me out of that. And I came to a point too where my network marketing business wasn't doing that great. And I was so unfulfilled in it. I was like, this feels like I'm forcing it now. And I feel like my chapter's done here. And that's when I was working with a coach at the time too. And she was like, I need a rebrand for my business, and you are really incredible in Canva. You're really incredible. Like, you've got an eye for it. I will pay you to do my rebrand. And that was like, what? Like, I thought everyone can like do this. Like, doesn't everyone have this ability to just go and do a quick little thing in Canva, like do a mood board up, do the colors, like, so it has been something that almost is like it was an innate gift that got sparked inside of me through my coach. And from there, that's when everything just like flowed, I guess, and everything started working in that. And yeah, I started researching more about brand, but also too, like a lot of it actually comes really naturally to me. And I've got a lot of unconventional I guess, opinions about brand, which I'm kind of going down that path because the way that brand has been portrayed or taught for quite a while, I believe is outdated and needs to shift. So that's where I've come in with like the unconventional approach. So that's like a kind of like a recap, a little bit of my life story.
Well, there's heaps I want to dive in from that.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start from the beginning of when you said you got into network marketing. I want to understand yourself and your journey with that, because I think a lot of people stop themselves from even taking that jump to maybe entrepreneurship, if that's what you would call it. Yeah. So like, did you have any beliefs coming up at that time when you're going to make the step into doing something that could potentially be risky, but knowing that there's reward attached to it, rather than playing it safe and doing the traditional lifestyle that we get taught to do?
Yes. Oh, 100%. Like, doubt was running through my veins at this time too, especially even when I started network marketing. Like, I had so many doubts, so many fears. I was constantly like self-sabotaging myself in actually growing it and becoming successful in it, because I had so many fears of like, what will people think? Oh my God, like I'm not a businesswoman. Who am I to do this? Like, who would give me money essentially, like without me just like doing it the traditional way of childcare or teaching. But yeah, making the jump and making the shift from network marketing, I did get a lot of backlash from not necessarily the company I was with, but certain people in that company, because I was shifting. And yeah, so I got a lot of backlash from that. And then that kind of tore my confidence down a little bit. And then at the same time, I was like, I need to make this happen more, because it was like my fuel to my fire in a way. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to use this as my fuel and literally make this something beyond what anyone else would even comprehend, like almost like shock everyone, or kind of want to shock everyone. And yeah, it's been like a journey. Even throughout the journey, I've had dips of like doubts, like, and dips of like, am I even good enough to do this? Oh my God. Like, so I've had those moments. And at the same time, when I first jumped into it with that risk, I literally had nothing to lose. I got kicked out of, well, not kicked out, but I chose to step out of childcare. That was when they were bringing in the vaccines, all the things. Anyways, not into that, but that was just my personal choice, and they were enforcing it, and I was like, well, I guess I'll leave. So literally I was just doing whatever it took at the time. I was doing Uber Eats at the time. I was doing whatever I could to like get some income in, and I literally had nothing else to lose. Had nothing else to lose, and I couldn't ignore my intuition that was like pulling me to do this. And even to like, there's been some moments where I've had conversations with clients where they've literally come back crying to me, being like, I can't believe how much you've like re-inspired me with my business. I actually feel like I can be myself. Like, and that's what made me be like, oh my God, this is so much bigger than me just going in Canva and like creating something or creating a logo. Like, it's so much bigger. Yeah.
That's why right there shows the importance of persevering and adapting to new environments or to new circumstances. When something external happens that we have no control over, rather than getting fixated on the thing within itself that's happening that you have no control over, instead persevering and adapting to something else, so it's going to push you in a direction that is staying aligned to your true path, rather than folding under the external, what the world's trying to tell you to do. And instead knowing your beliefs, knowing your values, knowing what you want from the world, and instead using that as fuel to persevere and make something out of it.
And I heard something the other day which actually resonated, and it was like, how did like someone asked, how do you know if you're on the right path? And this person replied that the path will disappear. And I'm just like, yep, okay, that is proven time and time again. Whenever I've made a big shift in my reality or done something that's like, whoa, this could literally go to shit, or this could like be the thing that propels me so much further. And literally that's when the path has completely disappeared, or my identity is completely shattered, and being like, I thought that I was going to pursue all of this, and now it's shifted and changed. And even like, I used to have the mentality of the, you know, never quit, you have to keep going, and even if you need to push against it, all of this. And there's also beauty in knowing when to pivot and knowing when to let go and quit something. And that's been a really cool lesson in the sense of like pivoting and quitting my network marketing business, and look what it's literally flourished into. Like, so I'm so grateful I listened to that and trust that, rather than letting my ego be like, well, I'm not going to quit. I'm just going to be stubborn and I'm going to stay in it and going to keep going. Yeah. So there's beauty in that as well.
I think that can be like a misconception with the hustle culture. Like, I love the whole grit attitude, but you need to know when your ego is getting involved, and to not put yourself in a situation that's actually pushing you backwards and run yourself to the ground. And like, you know, it's basically just adding gas to the fire, essentially. Yeah,
100%. That's been one of my biggest lessons, even to like of identity. Like, my identity was wrapped up for so many years too in the network marketing profession, and me actually having that identity and all the pieces of like, oh, but then that person back then told me I couldn't do it, so I want to prove them right. And then it was all ego. And then I had just literally had to be humbled. I was humbled in that moment of like pretty much everything getting scraped underneath me in a way, to then completely rebuild and start, not even rebuild, because I was just literally shifting into a new timeline, into a new reality. And this is literally what gives me so much fulfillment. And I cry all the time of just so much gratitude, like being able to do this. Like the fact that I used to be just like a little childcare worker, just thinking I'll do this the rest of my life, and getting paid nothing, pretty much, like so underpaid and overworked in that industry. And to now being like, oh my God, like there's people paying me to go to like a Bali retreat. There's people like telling me to come and speak on their stages, and paying me to work with, like paying me to help them to grow their brand. It's just like, can blow my mind a lot as well in that sense. Yeah,
no doubt. Because like, even when you said before, you're unsure that you could even get paid to do stuff on Canva, because you're like, oh, I thought everyone could do this. But I feel like that relates to everyday people, or just everyone in the world, because I feel like we all have a gift, we all have an ability. But I think because for us, it's so normal for us, like the way we live and the way we're wired, that we don't realize that everyone's unique and different.
Yep.
So like the gifts that we have and the abilities that we have that are normal to us can really add something to the world and add something to someone else's life. So like when you build the awareness of like, or you get an opportunity that pushes you into that,
Yep.
you're like, oh, well, this is a gift that I have that I can really help other people with. And I feel like everyone has that. It's just really identifying what do you have within you that you can help people with.
Yes, 100%. And I think that's a super important key piece in that with your own unique gifts, because that's also what I help my clients with, is really helping to be able to bring their own unique essence and their own unique gifts out even more, because there's so many people out there that could like literally will pay you to gain your knowledge, gain your insights, gain your like literally pay you to give you like skills set, all the things. And that was also a big thing in the start as well, where I was like, oh, I'm not a uni graphic designer. Can I even do this? Can I charge for this? But if I chose that to be my story, I literally wouldn't have started, because it would have just been a belief that kept playing over and over again of like, I need to know more. I need to like practice more. I need to do this course and then this course and this course. I just needed to start. Yeah. I had someone there literally being like, I will pay you, hurry up and send me an invoice. I'm ready to get started. And I was even putting off the invoice. So I was like, but can I even do this? Like, And yeah, that was a big knowing too of like, just start and figure out the rest. Like do it messy if you need to. And that was the best blessing, because then I've been able to still improve my skills over time. And now I'm literally creating logos in Adobe Illustrator, and I'm expanding my skills there too. So like, don't be afraid to just start with what you have, because there are people out there that need your gifts now. Yeah. They need you now.
Yeah, and I want to stay on this for a little while, because I think this is an awesome message for everyone out there, because we all, like I was saying just before, everyone has this unique thing within them, and you may start and you may feel like it's not going to go well, or you may have all these limiting beliefs coming up.
Yep.
But the saying that I love is that too many people think you have to be amazing to start, but you have to start so you can become amazing.
Yes.
So you got to start first, and then begin the journey of learning and testing and trials and tribulations, and then all those things that you learn along the way will make you the greatness that you become. Yes. But if you don't actually have the pain at all, how are you meant to grow to become whatever it is you vision yourself out to become?
Yep, 100%. And I think that's important too, in the sense of, it is because like we've been brought up in a society where we've been told, you know, you need to have a uni degree to do anything. I went to uni for a year to study early childhood teaching, and I felt like I learned nothing in that 1 year. I was like, I've learned more in my actual like working with children one-on-one in practical than I have sitting in a classroom at uni.
You learn so much more from actually doing the action.
Yes.
Because for myself, even when I started this podcast, I didn't go on YouTube and watch YouTube tutorials. I just started the thing, and I did hold myself back for a few months. Yep. When I first started, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yep.
I was absolutely winging it. The audio production was horrible. Like the whole setup was horrible, but I started and eventually manifested into this. Like with yourself, you started where you started, and like eventually it's manifested to you speaking at events and going to Bali and doing podcasts, doing your own podcast and helping so many people. But if you never took that first step, if you never started, you wouldn't have you wouldn't have had all these experiences you've had up to now.
Yeah, and that's what like gets me too, and this is what makes me even more fired up to help more people to step into their new brand, like personality, their essence, their personal brand, is because so many people out there are literally so close to giving up on their business because they feel like they're being ignored, they're not standing out, they don't know what their exact approach is with showing up online, with branding. So it makes me super fired up, because I'm like, do not give up on your business, please do not give up. Like yes, pivot if you need to, and if that feels what you need to do, but please don't give up. Like it's my soul wants to help more people to stay in their business, to grow it, to expand it, and also to like let their brand do the heavy lifting for them, rather than, because I went through the whole stage of in network marketing where I was like messaging 100 people and doing all the follow-ups and doing all the things that we were taught back then, and that was just pushing me further and further away from even getting those results. And I was just constantly looking for it outside of me, rather than actually looking inwards of like who I can show up as, and then the people will come to me.
Yeah, I love that analogy of like let the business do the hard work for you.
Yeah.
I realized something similar because like I grew up loving soccer.
Yeah.
It's like a saying we have in soccer is pass the ball because the ball moves quicker than you.
Oh, I love that
Like
analogy.
if you want to get the ball to the other side of the field to score a goal, don't try and
Yes.
take people on by yourself. Don't try and
Yep.
be so self-centered that you don't look up and see the people around you. You don't see this person to your right. You don't see this gap to your left. Because if you stay down looking at the ball, you end up losing the ball.
Yes.
But if you stay up, you stay perspicacious, you stay aware, and you actually play the ball to other people, or whether it's your business, whether it's people in your business, and actually delegate and outsource it,
Yep.
you're going to see that it's going to take a lot of pressure off your shoulders,
Yep.
and you'll eventually score the goal or grow your business.
Yes, and that's that. I can even use that analogy in terms of me hiring my first coach, and my first coach was the one who said, "I will pay you to do my rebrand," and she was the one who initiated this for me to step into this. She was the one who saw it before I could see it for myself. So there's so much beauty in hiring a coach too, because they can see your blind spots where you're maybe missing the mark, or maybe where doubt is just overflowing your mind so you can't see it for yourself. Like, that's why I love hiring a coach. You're literally paying them to see your potential and bring you into that potential. And it literally fast tracks the process.
Yeah, 100%. And I find that mentors in life are so important, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, depending on what you're wanting to grow in life. Like for me, when I was going through hard times, I just wanted to feel better and find a way. I went to the gym and found a mentor. Or when I first started going on social media, I found a mentor through that because it was really to help me find ways to make it more engaging. Because when you first start social media, I'm not sure if you're similar to me, like my templates were horrible. Nothing was eye-catching. Everything just looked sloppy and like weird. But, you know, you get a mentor who can really show you the way. They can cut so many corners. Like heaps.
Yeah, cutting corners. And it's like, literally you don't have to do it alone then as well, because I feel like business journeys and entrepreneurial journey can feel so lonely as well, especially when you're in like the depths of like feeling like you're doing all the things but nothing's growing, or feeling like nothing's working. And that's the best part. That's why you need to keep holding on to that, because that's where you're building foundations. And that's why I speak on, like, first and foremost, brand foundations are so important, because that's what's literally going to hold the whole thing together. It's literally like building a house, and you need to make sure you have the foundations in place in order to have a strong, stable home, right? It's the same thing. It's like the home for your business.
So with brands what's like a common thing you see with brands that is maybe something that's a popular thing to do, but you see that it's a mistake that people are doing? Is there anything that relates to that?
Yes. The first one I would love to touch on is just jumping on trends, and which can work for a bit, and trends can also be inspiring and give you a little bit of a creative hook to your brand as well. And at the same time, if you're relying on trends to build your brand, you're not building a strong brand. And you're then still just looking outside of you on, oh, this will work, and then I'll try this, and this will be the savior to grow my brand and get more visibility and be able to grow. And so, yeah, that's definitely one thing, is just relying on certain trends, or literally being a copy paste of someone else, because I see a lot of that too. And even too, I've had to have hard conversations with clients who have come to me and they're like, I want to be like this person. And I've had to have those hard conversations of like, well, this is actually what I see for you, and how incredible if you could step into this instead, and this will be unique for you. Because even when I create the brand personality, the mood board, the colors for them, the aesthetics for them, I don't look anywhere else. I literally set the intention to tune into them as a personal brand and their higher self. So this sounds super spiritual, but this is the side of me that I bring into my brand as well, is that I am like the channel that helps my clients to elevate into their higher self. And it's triggered some clients at times. I'll be very honest around that. Like, I've had some clients being like, can you change it, because I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
Like, there was a time too where a client came to me and I did a really, it was like a dark, moody red vibe. And I was like, I know you say you're doing like coaching and around health. However, what I actually see for you is helping around like sexual healing around women. And I said to her, I was like, I don't know why I'm getting this. I don't know why it's coming through. And she said to me, she's like, I'm crying right now. I can't even send a voice message, but I'm crying. And I've just recently went through some stuff with my husband, and there's lots of things there, and I'm not ready to deal with that right now. And so it was really actually, I had to step into courage at first to trust that. Yeah. To be like, I don't know why this is coming through. You're probably actually not going to like it. I don't know. And yeah, and then we had the conversation too. She wasn't ready for that, and that was okay too.
Yeah.
So there's just been times like that where I've just blown my own mind and be like, well, I don't know why, I don't know how this is happening. This is coming through. That kind of went on a separate tangent. Yeah. But yeah, trends and copycat branding, not about it.
Well, I've got two things I want to talk about with that. The first one is I just want to double down on what you're saying about trends, because I see it a lot, especially in the podcast world and type of work I do. I find if you catch on the trends, you don't build an audience, because I find if you do get involved in trends, you're losing your authenticity.
Yes.
Because you're becoming everyone else.
Yep.
Rather than becoming who you are and promoting that.
Yeah. And then you get lost in the crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
Yeah. And also with channeling as well, like where do you think that came from? Like, did you grow up with spiritual parents? Did you grow up maybe someone in school who was into it, a teacher, or was it something you found yourself along your own journey of life? I'm interested because I've had something similar with me, but I'm really keen to hear your journey with that.
So I grew up I grew up Christian and in church. So I was always like very like, I know there's something greater out there. And it was actually my auntie that I've reflected back on. She recently passed, but I reflected back on who was the person that introduced me into like the spiritual realm, the spiritual side. And I realized it was my auntie. She was the first person to introduce me to crystals. She would tell me about angels. She would tell me like about like literally energy and all the things. So I had that one person. So it's interesting you're just sharing this right now, because I had a big spiritual experience last year when she passed, with that realization of her, and I was really grateful for her. So I feel like this is just my moment to honor her in that too, and thank her wherever she is, crossed over. And yeah, because she really opened up my eyes to that world and like believing in something that you can't actually see. And I have always been quite intuitive, and I've always said like in my intuition, and there would be things that happen that I would feel into and tune into, and then other things with how, so there'll be weird situations like that. But yeah, I've always been very intuitive, but it was only until very recent that I've actually been like, oh, I'm actually like channeling people's brands. I thought I was just, making something up and putting it together. It's like, oh, I'm actually channeling it.
I was going to say, like, when did you first start trusting your intuition? Because I feel like we all have those moments where we feel in our gut, or we have that sense of intuition where we know what the right thing is to do, even if we haven't collected information to even know it's the right thing to do. Yeah. So for yourself, like, when did you start knowing to trust your intuition and listen to it?
I mean, it's been a journey in that sense, because there's been times where I've really felt strong and trusting it, and other times where I've fallen out of it massively. So I feel like it's been a commitment to stay on that path, because even to like little increments of not trusting it, or like trusting someone else over your own intuition, or someone else's advice over your intuition, which your own intuition is always more powerful than someone else's advice. Just saying. And yeah, so it's been a journey in that. And I think self-trust and actually doing things that made me really courageous has helped with that were the intuitive hits. So even I remember I did my first live ever in 2018, and I was shaking. I felt like I was going to vomit. Like I was like, oh my God, who's going to watch this? There's going to be guys from high school on here. Like, I'm going to be I literally was just talking about, I don't know, I think self-love or something.
Especially in 2018, because no one was doing
this
online space wasn't people jumping on social media saying, hey guys, type thing,
It was not a thing whatsoever. And so I did my first Facebook Live, and that was my first little courage step that I can actually pinpoint that kind of ripple effect into everything else. And I remember coming into my sister's room, and I was like, oh my God, can you please watch it? I'm going to delete it. This is terrible. Like, oh my God, I'm stuttering. Like, yuck. I still have that on my Facebook, I believe, as well. So if anyone has me on Facebook, go watch it. It's funny.
I'll link in the Shafaya.
I'll link it there. So that was kind of like the first step to really stepping in and trusting my intuition, because I definitely feel like that was a big moment that ripple affected into everything else. And it's always been those little moments of when I've chosen to trust myself and my own intuition over someone else. Like, for example, when I had the backlash from certain people being like, oh, well, you can't charge for that, or, you know, things like that, or, oh, I wouldn't pay someone to create something on Canva for me or whatever. Like, it was in those moments when I was like, I'm actually not going to listen to you. That's your own beliefs, it's your own limitations, whatever it is, it's your own opinion. I'm going to choose my intuition in this moment. And it's been those little moments each time when I've chosen myself that strengthened my own intuition, listening to myself.
Yeah, and that's the thing with like other people's beliefs getting projected onto you, because it's about like asking yourself, do these people have the same goals as me? If they don't, do they have the life I want to live? And usually both of those answers are no. So why would I take advice from someone that doesn't have the life I want, or doesn't have the same goals as me, and is not trying to learn or network with the same people I am? Like it's like going back to soccer. I'm not going to listen to a dude who hits tennis balls and tell me how to kick a soccer ball, you know, like, and put his beliefs onto me. So I think it does come down to getting around the right people, networking, and then you can learn from people that have already done it, like mentors, and their beliefs. You can learn from their beliefs, because their beliefs have gone to where they got to. So then you can feed off that energy for yourself. Yeah,
and that's the biggest thing as well that's helped me, is expanding my circle. And it doesn't mean that you have to completely cut off your family or friends, anything like that. I don't believe in that, because I still have met my family and those friends as well. And I've also actually, like, they've risen with me to a sense too. Yeah, that's why the right people anyways. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, like, as well, like, getting yourself around those people and, like, expanding your circle, because you are the top 5 people you hang around the most.
I love that, because you don't have to cut people off. And I think that's another misconception with the whole get around the right people. So the way I see it is, it's like if you have, like, an abundant mindset, it's like you're just getting more in life. You're not cutting people off. You're just welcoming more people in. You're just going in the direction of the people that are going to be contributing to your cause at the moment. And then these people that are good for you right now, in 10 years, you don't know, you might be in a different path in life, maybe surrounded by different people. It doesn't mean the people that you've connected with now are bad. It's just like in life, we're continuously moving forward. And we're just gaining more.
And if you are, like, cutting people off in the sense of, like, they have a negative mindset, and, like, almost condemning them and being so charged by that, it's literally a reflection back of yourself of what you haven't seen or accepted, or literally transmuted within yourself. Because I noticed that a big thing I started to do when I started a business, I was like, oh, they don't get it because they're not in business, and almost like cutting ties with them, and then not realizing, oh, there's things that I'm not getting, you know? So check yourself before you cut people off, I believe. And then there was also times too where it's like, okay, our chapter has ended, where it's been like with me with friendships, or even, certain family members, or anything like that. It's just been phases too where we just have disconnected, and that's okay.
I think that's why reflection is so important, whether it's personal or professionally, like really observing yourself, your actions, your beliefs, especially towards whether it's cutting off friends or whether it's pivoting into business or whatever it is, but really observing and then being able to reflect and have self-awareness. I find is so important in life, like, to actually reflect. And like think back on like your last 2 weeks, or think back on your last 6 months, and really observe it from a point, and really try and just pinpoint certain things, maybe what was good, what was unhelpful, what was helpful, and just really break it down. Because I feel like when you do reflect, that's when you're really able to grow and then become more aware of in yourself and how you feel. And so many benefits come from that. So with you, like, do you do much reflective practices, especially like with your business, to continue to grow and learn, and also personally to continue to grow?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like that is a big piece. And I'm in the middle of completing a shadow work course for business. It's like a shadow audit to see where the missing pieces in your business, or to redesign certain things. And there was this one question in it. It's by Felicity Morgan, and she's amazing. And there was this one question in it that really got me thinking about every single area of my life in reflection of what once felt expansive to you that now feels like a limitation. And that just like blew my mind into all of these like contemplations of, oh my God, there's so many things in my business that once felt expansive that no longer feels expansive, actually is limiting me into this next level. And you can do the other way around of like what once felt limiting that now feels expansive. So I froth this question because I've started using it every area of my life now too. Yeah, because it can filter into everything, because also too how you do one thing is how you do everything. So as well, if you've got mess around you, there's probably mess in your business. Is that if there's mess in your relationships, if there's mess in your health, like clean that shit up, and then probably shit will start to clean up in your business too. I hope I can swear on here too.
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
Won't go too hectic. But.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, because I've got a mate of mine, a mentor of mine too, Dion, and he always said something similar. He goes, if you've got a messy car, he goes, I can tell everything else in your life is messy.
Yep.
Every time I'd see him, it'd like look from a window of my car, like, oh, your car's clean. It's like, just checking. But he was big on that, like, if one area is messy, there's a good chance that it may be not as messy other places, but you may still be lacking in that area because you're not like fully committed into really nourishing that thing.
Yes, and understanding too, like I've had myself and a lot of friends around me who are in business too, who have just literally gone laser focused into the business, not realizing that there's been other areas that are now dropping, which is then still affecting the business. Because I mean, especially if you're in business too, in something that is literally feels like your soul, part of your soul, or you're doing things that even like with the podcast, things like that, it does affect every area too. Like even not yesterday, I think it was yesterday, day before, I can't remember. Anyways, I was like, I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm feeling so creatively dry and like tapped out from moving house and just settling into a new environment. And I was like, I literally just got the download. I was like, I need to go to the beach. I need to go to the beach and just scrape my morning schedule and just get to the beach and journal and get into nature without my phone. And I did that and I felt so much better afterwards, and I was so much more productive when I got home. Yeah,
it's like actually listening to yourself instead of just pushing through like, no, we're doing this instead.
Yeah.
Actually taking the time out for yourself, going to the beach, recharging, coming back. You would have got more productive work done by doing that rather than sitting there for the whole time period and trying to figure it out.
Yep, because then you're actually just wasting time. And a lot of people start a business that I can have noticed where they just want to literally be busy. And they want to distract themselves from their personal life through that business.
And you start to realize the more you get into business, the less busy you want to be.
Yes.
So you start delegating and outsourcing to other people so you can put your energy into another department that's going to grow it even more. And you end up delegating that and you just keep building from that, because if you get into a want to just be busy, you're going to burn yourself out. Like a good example that people understand for myself is the podcast. So I used to do all the editing by myself. It used to take hours every week. But instead now I outsource all my clips. So I got this thing that creates about 30 clips per episode. It creates about 20 chapters per episode. I don't have to do any of it anymore. And being able to delegate and outsource that part of my podcast has saved me about 10 hours a week.
Yeah. And what has that saved you? Like, not even just the hours side, like what has that saved you mentally, spiritually, emotionally?
Exactly, because before I do it, I'm thinking about it. So it's taking up mental space and it's taking up physical space by me doing it. And then I feel deflated after because it's taking up the physical and mental, and I just feel tired.
Yep. And then it's like, then there's no room as well for you to actually come up with new ideas for growing the podcast, new ideas. Like actually then you're now actually in the identity and thinking like a big podcast.
Yeah.
Facilitator, runner, owner, host, all the things.
Billionaire brand energy.
Energy. Yeah. And that's what I had to step into too. When there was this funny thing too, when I started a free Facebook group last year and I had the idea to do it. And I was asking my friend, we're at a cafe working, and I was like, I've come up with two names. I've come up with one that says build your brand, or there's this other one that I'm like, I don't think it's that one, and that scares the shit out of me. Billionaire brand.
Sounds and she more
was
saucy.
Yeah, and she was like, which one scares you the most? And I was like, the billionaire brand one. And I'm so glad she asked that question. And because I had to step into that then. That was the identity I had to step into too. So then there was all these things came up of like, who am I? I just call myself a billionaire brand bestie. Like what? And now it's literally become my tagline, and so many people can remember me by that. And now I've created a billionaire brand membership and things like that. So the ripple effect from me just trusting that and leaning into a shit my pants moment was the ripple effect that led me into so many other things.
And that shows the power of also just putting the idea out there to the world, because when you do, especially with a friend or depending on wherever you like to put the ideas out there, it keeps you accountable to actually follow through with it. So you have to do it. With my in-person podcast event that will come up in April, I was sitting there and I remember I was speaking to one of my mates. I was talking to him about it. He's like, well, do it.
Yes.
I was like, okay. And it's like, well, who would you want to be on the panel? And I was like, oh, these 4 people. I was like, fuck, I'm going to call them right now. While I was sitting there, called all four of them, said yes. And I was like, well, I've got to do it now. But then by taking that action and putting it out to the world, keeps you accountable to and pushes you to actually do the thing, which is not a bad thing because it comes back to aligning with what you want and your vision and really owning what you do. Like with yourself, billionaire brand, like it really owns where you want to take your brand. It really pushes you in the direction where you want to take your business as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's so important too. Like even when I reached out to you, because I was like, I want to get on more podcasts. I want to chat to more people. Like I'm doing my own podcast, having guests on mine, which I'm loving. And I'm ready for the next level to expand. Yeah. And that's why I was like, I saw your podcast and I was like, I'm messaging him. I just need to do it. I've made the decision now, done it. And yeah, and that's what's transpired from there of just trusting that and going like just sending the message. Like I remember there was this one woman who I really looked up to. She helped me a lot on my like health and fitness journey around training. Like when I broke my ankle, I really got into weightlifting after that because I was like, I want to strengthen my body. Like I don't want to deal with the injury like that again. And so I hired her as my coach through her app, which was very like low investment, but I just looked up to her so much. And so I started my podcast. It was still a baby. And I was like, I really want to reach out to her, have her as like a guest. Yeah. And all this stuff came up of like, yeah, but like she has this many followers on Instagram and oh my God, I look up to her so much. I don't know. And I was like, again, I was like an effort moment of like, I'm just going to reach out to her. I'm just going to do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? She says no. Okay. She says no. Yeah. And then I got her on my podcast and it was just like a cool moment too of then, and it was a big reflection piece of how much I'd been pedestaling a lot of people, which then was putting myself in the pit.
Exactly.
And it was also a moment too of like how much I put follower count on a pedestal. Yeah. And this is now something that I also remind my clients and my audience as well, that followers actually don't matter as much as you think they do.
Yeah, it's like similar to the concept of friends and mates.
Yes.
You know, like how many friends do you have compared to mates? Like you may know a lot of people, but your core friends are the people who are actually supporting you and rocking for you. Same with followers. Someone may have 100,000 followers, but only have 1,000 that are actually core supporters. Yeah. But if you have 1,000 core supporters, it's still as important as 100,000 followers.
Yes.
You still got that core people behind you.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen some people who do have a large audience, yet they're actually not making much, like monetizing much off of it. They're not making many sales or not making much money. And even in the sense of, I think I had like maybe 600, 700 followers on my design account when I made my first 10K. And if I thought I need to have 10K followers before I have a 10K month, like that would have put me back so much. I probably would have been waiting for a long, long time to get to that level in business. And so that was a really cool moment in reflection too of like, followers don't equal your bank account, don't equal sales, don't equal how successful a business is. So that was, a cool piece. And I want to remind people of that too, because your brand is like, make your brand bulletproof so the followers actually don't like matter as much.
Yeah, 100%. And like even with myself, when I interview people, I never interview someone purely because of how many followers they got. Thinking, I can look how many streams I could get if this person's got heaps of followers. Like I've never done that once. What I do is I identify someone that I think I'll have an epic conversation with, that will provide epic value, and someone's work that I'm interested in, and then I have a conversation with them. And that person could rather have 1 million followers, or they could have 20 for all I care, rather, as long as that I feel like there'll be a good connection and good value for the audience, then 100%, because you focus on the followers, you can get so trapped and lost into that. And then it's like, for myself, if I get lost in the followers, like what value am I really providing?
Yes. And you literally lose track of why you even started what you started in the first place. You lose track of your mission, what you're actually here to do, the value you want to give to the world. And then it's another ego thing as well. It's another ego trap of just, I'm only going to have someone on my podcast if they have this many followers or they're making this much a month. Like it can be a bit of an ego trap in that sense, rather than being intentional of like who you want on your podcast, the influence, the conversations, that side of things.
Yeah. So what have you learned from doing the podcast? Like what's some of the key takeaways you reckon you've had?
From my own podcast?
Yeah.
I think there's so many. There's actually so many because I wanted to start a podcast for a long time because I found I was just talking on my stories and I was like, I need somewhere to put this because everyone on my who was watching my stories I think they just want long form content. And this is what I suggest to when someone's wanting to have some more influence in their brand or authority is definitely starting a podcast. That's actually one of my offerings as well that I have to help people to launch their podcast. Like we're doing the design side of things, actually getting them set up with the foundations of the podcast so they don't have to go through all the messy stuff like I know you and I went through.
It's difficult. If you've never started a podcast, I recommend getting someone to help you because, I would have saved myself probably a year of just chaos.
Same. Even to like me trying to find my own brand of the podcast, like I changed my cover photo that many times, like in the first 6 months and I was shifting between like what I was doing. But I really have loved how much it has given me a platform to really express my soul, my essence, and be able to have really cool conversations with other people. It's like given me a reason or an excuse, excuse to spend time chatting with people and connecting with people because that is actually a really big value of mine. I really love connection. I really love talking to other people, having conversations like this. So it gave me that opportunity and it was a really cool way too to like connect deeper with my clients, my future clients, my audience, because I'm in their ears while they're walking their dog, while they're in their house cooking, while they are in the car. So it's more touch points as well and it's a more intimate approach as well to from a brand perspective of building your brand because you are in people's lives in a sense, like you're intertwined in their lives. So they're going to trust you more. They're going to connect with you more. They're going to get to know you more to then know whether your services or you is going to be a good fit for them to invest into.
The good thing about podcasting too is something that stays around forever.
Yes.
Like all your episodes are always there and you're just building on it depending on how frequently you upload. And like the ability to network as well, like sit across from someone like that fitness girl that you're talking about, having the ability to have a chat with her for an hour and talk to her about a story or the value that she can provide and having a platform where you can do that as well. That's why I love it. And also with brand promotion and if you want to promote your business on there too. But there's just so many benefits from actually having the poddy.
Yes. And it's like I really wouldn't probably have been able to have the conversations that I've been able to have or even like things that have transpired into ideas with people and then have come out into something that we've been able to create together so it's been really cool. Even too, I went to an event, I think it was like a few months ago, but I had some people I connected with that I'd never met before and they're like, I listened to your podcast and I'm like, oh, that is like a cool, I'm like, sometimes I just feel like I'm speaking and no one's listening.
Such a good compliment.
I was just like, oh my God. Then she was telling everyone about my podcast and I was like, this is so cool. Because just like knowing too, I've been like doing all these episodes and then especially too when you first start, you're like, is anyone even going to listen? Like what's going to happen? Am I just going to be talking to myself the whole time? And it's just like a cool reflection piece of like, like still doing those episodes, even when I was feeling that, even when I felt like no one's listening or paying attention, like it's just a cool moment of like, okay. People are. Yeah,
people are. And then the thing is like, even if it kicks off and you start getting 1 million downloads a week, all your old episodes are still there. Yes. They're more to dive into as well. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
like
it's sometimes a compound.
Exactly. And then you'll have like a random episode from like 2 years ago just fire off. I'm like, why is this episode firing off? I haven't even posted anything about it.
I love it that happens. But it's literally like the compound effect of like, and that's why even too when it comes to setting goals, I used to be like an avid like goal setter, like really structured with it though as well, and like writing all the lists down, ticking things off. And I still set goals and set intentions for what I want to achieve. And at the same time, what I found works best for me is making sure I'm focusing on the little increments I can do every single day, because that has gotten me so much further than being like, I'm going to do this in 3 months and then this in 6 months and setting so like tight time frames on it. So that's just been something that's helped me.
Incremental progress is so important. Because I started like before I had the podcast, I started my Instagram in 2018. So it's quite similar to when you started doing your work too. Yeah. And from 2018 to now 6 years later, like it just shows the importance of just staying committed long term and things start manifesting, because I think too many people overestimate what they can do in the short term and underestimate what they can do in the long term.
Yeah.
So it's like also having a vision for the long term as well.
Yes.
And staying committed to it. And if you need to pivot. But then that's when you get people around you that can help you for that.
Yes. 100%. I'm feeling so like excited from this episode. Like I feel like even I'm just having my own ideas come through of like what I want to add into my business and all the things.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Yeah.
So good.
I want to ask you because I want to get into branding as
Yes.
well now. Because we've had bits and pieces, but I really want to get into branding as well.
Yeah.
It's like for a beginning phase for a business that's starting up, like what do you recommend for them for branding? I know it may be different for whatever the business is, but if you have any examples or anything you'd like to share.
Yes. So the first few things I could suggest is get clear on what you want to be known for. So for example, when I first started my business, I didn't know what it was going to look like exactly, but I was like, I want to be known for the brand girl, like branding. I want to be known for branding. So I figured out what I wanted to be known for. I didn't necessarily pick a niche because I don't personally teach that, and I don't necessarily believe in niching down or finding your niche. And we can touch more on that if you'd like. Yeah. But yeah, essentially find out what you want to be known for, get clear on that, and know that it doesn't mean that you're boxed into that. Like you can build things around that. And another piece of that, so get clear on what you want to be known for, get clear on what your values are in your business or brand. So because this is what you're going to be able to portray and also step into yourself. So how you're going to show up in your brand. For example, a few of my brand values are like creativity, expansion, honesty, or like fun as well. I've got like the fun element, spirituality. So find out what values you're going to bring into your brand. And the third key component of that, like the first sort of beginner steps, is figuring out your colors as well. Because I love colors and I love the meanings behind colors, because there's been so many times where I've seen proof time and time again with my own brand, with client brands, in the sense that like I'm now being sent cars, like literally outfits that are in my brand color. But, oh my God, this made me think of you. Like, so it's becoming known for a brand style and brand color, because my one is lilac. And the reason I chose the lilac purple is because it represents the third eye for me, and which is all around vision, creativity, all the things around that. And also too, it is representative of the fun element too, and it brings in like a bit of a luxe vibe as well. And I've got the black in there, which black can be a very authoritative color and a very powerful color that can bring you into like that power element too. So getting clear on what colors you want to bring in, I usually suggest 2 main colors and 2 secondary colors. And get clear on which one is going to be like the one that people are going to think of when they think of you, in the sense that like I've had a client who I worked with who had one of their audience message her and be like, I feel like I can't wear that green color because it's like your green color. Or even too, there's been like with my own self too, they're like, I literally just can see, when I see purple, when I see lilac, I literally reminds me of you. So it's that visual anchor that's going to get you remembered, recognized, and then also referred to.
Do you recommend like the primary color to be a bright color, or doesn't it matter, just depending on what really suits your preference and your authentic self?
I don't necessarily believe it needs to be like a bright color. It just needs to make sense for you and your brand. So I think that's a big key component. I did a masterclass on color psychology and color codes and color consciousness around the true meanings behind color theory that can literally come, like it goes into every area of color is in our world, right? So there's like, even to like color therapy, like I went to the sauna and like she was like, you can press these different ones and this one will help with this and this and this. Yeah. So there's power in color, so much power, and it can communicate something that you can't communicate just with words. Yeah,
well, I feel like colors can also trigger emotions to, in a sense. You can see red and get a certain feel from that. You can see blue and feel calm. Like I feel like some colors, probably every color actually can give you that emotional reaction.
Yes, 100%. I even use it in terms of like, for example, I did this on a retreat I spoke at as well, of the sense like in Australia, like you've got Woolies and Coles, And even when you think it's like red is Coles, right? And Woolies is green. And I asked too, like, which one do you feel more drawn towards to like the attendees there? Some people said Coles, some people said Woolworths. And I was like, well, for me, I only realized this not even that long ago. I'm more drawn to go shop at Woolies because green means health and vitality.
Yeah.
So by me subconsciously in my own psyche, I believe that I'm going to be more healthy because I value health. So therefore I'm going to go.
It's like fresh food.
Fresh food.
Like on the market.
Yeah, fresh food people. So great branding, great marketing. Whereas Coles is more the element of like red, it grabs your attention, which I associate with fast food because Macca's, Hungry Jack's, you know, KFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting too. So if the big brands and companies out there are doing it and focusing on colour, why aren't you?
It's like I'm getting like a million thoughts of like so many different brands right now in my head.
Yeah.
Like in their colours and the purpose of it. I'm going to be driving down the street now, like pointing them all out in my head.
Yes, that's me every time. I get so like, I'm like, I need to just focus on driving, but I'm just like noticing everything. So yeah, it's very powerful. So they would be the three main things I would focus on to start with. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good because like when it comes to branding, what really like excites you the most about it for yourself when you start working with someone? What lights you up?
The unique self-expression it gets to be. That's how I interpret branding. And even too, like it gets to be something that feels so fulfilling within you. And it gets to like, I purely focus on personal brand within my business. I was focusing on both and I found I was really loving personal because I really want to help people to actually be seen online, to stand out, to really step into their weirdness, their uniqueness, their own like flair and personality, rather than just feeling like they need to show up and be someone they're not. So I guess, yeah, that's like the part of it because I think, yeah, even that was something I struggled with when I first started network marketing. I felt like I needed to be like the leaders that were in that company. I needed to just be them and then I'd be successful, which just created this distance and disconnect between actually getting there because I was putting somebody else's shoes on, literally.
I'm wondering why they're not fitting.
Yeah, literally. Being like, this is uncomfortable. I don't like this. Wobbling all over the place.
Yeah. But it makes so much sense, you know, because you can't really model other people's things. Like you can learn bits from their blueprint, but the thing that got them to their end goal is going to be completely different to what's going to get you there as well, or the people listening. It's going to be completely different to what gets them there as well. So it's like really identifying yourself, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like that's my big drive for what I do is really being able to help people to step into that because I know there is so many people who are so scared of being seen because of that judgment piece or because they were maybe bullied when they were younger as well for being just themselves.
Yeah.
So one thing I realized too was that I'd been doing this since I was a kid too. Even the sense that I would cut out old magazine covers and I'd be like, nah, I don't like the way they designed it. Like girlfriend magazines, dolly magazines. I literally cut it and take out different bits of how I would design the front cover. So I had that big realization too. I was like, oh, I've been doing this since I was a kid.
You're a seasoned veteran.
Yeah, literally. I was like, I'm very experienced doing this since childhood.
Like what, besides, because I know we touched on before about the trends and stuff.
Yeah.
Is there any other red flags out there for people that they should be aware of when it comes to branding?
Ooh, okay. I haven't really spoken into this one, but maybe because I feel like it's been shown a lot right now in ads and things like that on social media. The AI approach that lots of people are falling into the trap in. Like AI, ChatGPT is great for some things and it shouldn't be something that you rely on to literally craft your entire brand and create everything because it's not going to be you and it's not going to be unique and it's not coming from you. It's coming from a computer, an AI. Yeah. And even the sense to like relying on that to then, craft your brand. And one of the other things too is creating brands that aren't actually going to be sustainable over time. This is something too, like I think rebrands are important too. And I think also it's important to know when you're doing a rebrand out of a place that your business isn't growing or you feel like you're rebranding from a place of scarcity in a way or thinking like that's going to be the thing that fixes everything. So it's good to know too when you're doing it from that place, or doing it because it's like, oh, I saw that person rebranded, and she's having success, so maybe I'll rebrand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's like building a brand that really grows with you. Even to like, I've kept that lilac color has been with me since I first started in this business. However, the shade has changed over time. The aesthetic has changed. Like it's become a lot more luxe now as well. So yeah, I think that's some key red flags, but some things to just like stay away from. And specifically too, like with falling down the trap of just thinking that you need to keep niching down and keep finding your niche. It's kind of like a similar, I guess, piece of advice that I've heard around like finding your purpose. It's kind of like a similar thing. It's just thrown around of like, you just find your purpose, or like find your niche. And it's like, it's just, that can be more confusing than it is helpful. Even in the sense too, I've spoken about this multiple times. I was working with a client who was told that she needed to niche down and find her niche. So then she literally suppressed her true self because she is an energy healer, or not energy healer, she's a sound healer, bit of both, I believe. And she thought she needed to show up as like a really spiritual, wear all white and be super fluffy and show up as that spiritual girly sound healer aesthetic. And since we worked together, literally she was like, I really want to bring in my love for heavy metal, but I don't know how that looks like with like, that can't go together with sound healing. I was like, yes, it can. We're bringing it in.
Let's go.
Let's go. So, because she was like, that's where I found my love for sound healing is through going to heavy metal concerts and festivals.
Hearing the sound and
so I was like, yes, we're bringing this in because this is you. This is a part of you. So, and it's just, that was a cool experience as well, working with her, because she was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I can finally like feel like I can be myself. And then she started to attract clients like her as well, who felt like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to go to like a sound healer, but I didn't really vibe with the rest, you know?
I understand that, because niching, it's a very much talked about topic within the industry of like, you got to find your niche. And I remember someone asked me once, because they found my podcast, and he said, oh, what's the avatar of your listener? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, so what's the avatar? Who are they? What do they like? I was like, oh, I don't know, it's diverse. Like, because for me, like when I started the podcast, I didn't want to niche it down to this is my avatar, this is my person. It's like, no, 1 week I'll get a brand expert on, the next week I'll get a neuroscientist on, the next week I'll get a rap artist on, the next week I'll get, someone else on. Like, it's very diverse, but it's really doing what really feels home to you. Like with your friend in that story, where incorporating the rock to her sound healing, because that's what ignited their passion in the first place. Like even for me, what ignited my passion for sound and talking and communication was rap music. So like the marathon continues as rap is everything in my life. So I was like incorporating that in my podcast as well, mixed with everything else I'm interested in. And I think by doing that, people are just very curious and listening to the people you bring on and all the diversity that comes with it.
Yes. I think too, there is so many people who are diluting themselves because they think they're going to be liked or accepted if they dilute themselves and push themselves down to fit in that box, when it's like that's actually what's limiting you and keeping you at that level, keeping you stuck. The thing that's going to take you from here to here and beyond is fully just owning your own expression, your own unique expression, finding out how that gets turned into visuals as well, which is what I help with, and completely owning it, completely owning it, owning yourself. And even in terms of as well, like I'm coming back to the Kardashians again, but I just think in terms of like how they've been able to mold their personal brands so much over the years as well, even when they've been had like controversy, that word, or people trying to like ruin their brand, they've been able to keep strengthening and keep it going and growing. And no matter what you have to say about the Kardashians, there's still people who are talking about the Kardashians. And I think they're just being their full selves.
We gotta give hats off to them for what they've built. Like the empire they've built of their name and of each other, and really being able to support each other as a family unit and build like this massive, I would call it actually an empire. There's Kardashians everywhere and the Jenners everywhere, and like everyone knows them, everyone knows the brand. And even when think Carly started their makeup brand that became $1 billion.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Like you can learn so much by observing people. And I don't understand when someone, I do understand, but like when someone sees someone doing something and then you shut out everything they do and don't even want to learn the lessons that they could learn from that person. Like for me, I don't watch Keep Up with the Kardashians. I don't follow them.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to learn branding, I would watch them and observe them so I could learn from them, even though I don't dive into their content.
Yeah.
But there is still something for us as people to learn from people that we may not even engage with or that we may have a quote unquote opinion on. There's still so much to learn from people.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's also too, like just trying to put someone in a box too, when we're all such multidimensional humans. And too, like there's secrets in their success that as well that you can, it's a blueprint too. Like there's even, I've never really watched like the early Kardashians, but I have watched the latest ones because there is a lot around them building their businesses and running them. So I've actually sometimes watched that with the intention of like expanding my own like awareness or possibility of what could be possible for me as well, and that's, I think too, like rather than seeing someone for being successful and thinking that, oh, they're just ripping people off or all these things, actually look to them and be like, wow, I wonder what they did that I could learn from, that I could implement, even if it takes me like one step further.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great mindset to have rather than just completely because they've done something or said something and they've triggered you or that you've made an assumption about them. Like they're obviously doing something right too in their lives.
Yeah,
and especially if they're living a lifestyle that you would dream of, sometimes pay attention to that.
There's always something to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I feel like, everyone has, as we were saying, like their own unique gifts as well, which I believe too, everyone has their own piece of wisdom. And some people too can be that like messenger for you. There's been times too where I've literally bumped into a random person and they've told me something and I'll be like, what?
Yeah.
So it's like cool what conversations you have rather than just basing off pure like face value.
I want to also ask as well, like in terms of branding, why is it so important to focus on it?
I believe that your business is like the body. So that's in terms of like us. Business is like the physical body and the brand is the soul. So it's literally an expression of your soul. And it helps people to really connect with who you are. There's like people can connect with a feeling as well within your brand and who you are too. Because a lot of people will make decisions based off feelings. I know I do. I make a lot of decisions based off a feeling. And brand is super important because it trumps over everything. Even for the sense too, there will be people that will, let's say you have like a local coffee shop down the road. Sometimes if people really value Starbucks, they will drive the extra mile to go get Starbucks because of the brand.
That's like me with Cafe 63.
Yeah.
Like this one, I'll travel an extra 20 minutes to get there because I love Cafe 63.
Yes. Like it's the brand, right? And that will actually keep your business going and fueled over time. And too, like it does the heavy lifting for you. As I said, like there's been multiple times where I've had like clients message me, be like, how do I pay? I'm ready to work with you. Or I've jumped on a call, haven't needed to sell them into anything. It's literally, I mean, I've seen all your things. I'm ready to go.
The brand sells itself.
Yes.
Like the Rode microphones.
Yes.
Guaranteed Rode doesn't really have to market as much
Yeah.
because their brand is so visible out there and known that people just buy it on instinct. Like that's the go-to.
Yes. And it's like, that's what will build a sustainable business, is keeping a strong, sustainable brand.
Yeah.
Like it's, I can't even put it into words because I'm just like, what do you mean? Like it just is. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, and it's your reputation. It's like, it's so many things. Like it is the visuals, but how I don't want to get into that because I don't want it to be confusing, because my intention with teaching on brand and branding is really making it simple yet significant and making it really digestible and easy to understand so people can implement it and you don't get like in this cycle of like, oh, but then and focusing on the increment little details. But really just understanding that, your brand is your soul, the soul of your business.
Not overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not overcomplicating.
I think that's super important, especially because like if you actually want to digest it and learn, the more simple it is, the more engaged you're going to be with it.
Yeah.
And then it can become more complex as you get on the journey with it.
Yes.
Like when you want to learn more things and learn little tweaks and things like that. But
Yeah.
it's easily digestible. It's just so much easier to get into.
Yeah, and sometimes I actually think the basics are harder to
Yeah,
teach.
yeah. And they're actually harder to do consistently.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's the things you have to continually to do.
Yeah, so it's actually a lot easier for some people to do the more complex things, and that's what actually can be the distraction rather than really focusing and honing in on the basics. That is going to build the foundations of your brand, literally.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. And like before we wrap up here, I want to give you like the floor or the stage, if you will, and be able to give you the opportunity to share any message you feel like sharing, whether it's something from your heart, whether it's promoting your business, whether it's doing whatever it is. But I just want to give you the floor, take your time, share what you want to share.
Yes. Okay. Amazing. I will share where I am. So you can follow me at thedivine.design. That is my design Instagram. I also have my personal Instagram over there, which is linked to the bio. I also have my own podcast because I've actually just rebranded. It was called the Divine Discovery Podcast, and now it's shifted into the Deja Vu Podcast because I'm owning my name, my own unique name in a sense. So I've got my podcast over there. There's already heaps of episodes over there that you can binge listen to as well. I also too have my Billionaire Brand membership. That's essentially like a group coaching program container where I get to jump in there each week, give you resources and tools, mini trainings, all the things in there. So if you really want to learn more about building your billionaire brand and building those basics and foundations up really strong and having that access to me, that's like a more like a low ticket access. If you are though, like you're a business owner, like I really need help like elevating my brand over like the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, I do have longer term packages as well where we can work together with really doing the visuals, doing the energetics, doing the actual brand strategy sessions, all the things that is going to help you to build your brand and have it something that grows with you as well, that you can build your successful business or whatever you're wanting to create and be known and stand out. So that's all I kind of wanted to promote, and I guess I would love to end it on that just like literally your potential is endless. And when you truly lean into your own unique essence and who you are, truly at your core, not what the world has told you are or what you've attached your identity to, that is when you get everything that you want. I believe.
Agreed. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
I'll link everything in the bio if you're listening. So jump in the bio. Every link will be there. But thanks for coming on. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Yay.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.